My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. That peace that we're after lies somewhere beyond personality. As far as I can tell, it's just about letting the universe know what you want and working toward it while letting go of how it comes to pass. And when I say life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, I really don't know if that's true. I'm just making a conscious choice to perceive challenges as something beneficial so that I can deal with them in the most productive way. You'll come up with your own style. That's part of the fun. Like many of you, I was concerned about going out into the world and doing something bigger than myself, until someone smarter than myself made me realize that there is nothing bigger than myself. You are ready and able to do beautiful things in this world. And after you walk through those doors today, you will only ever have two choices: love or fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying, I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. Please. I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
Yeah, I would visualize,
This is when you were broke and poor.
Right, having directors interested in me and people that I respected saying, you know, I like your work, or whatever that is. And I would visualize things coming to me that I wanted or whatever.
This was in like 1987, 85?
Yeah. And I had nothing at that time, so it was like, but it just made me feel better. It made me, at that time, all it really was for me was kind of making me feel better. I would drive home and think, well, I do have these things, and they're out there. I just don't have a hold of them yet, but they're out there. I wrote myself a check for $10 million. For acting services rendered, and I gave myself 5 years, or 3 years maybe, and I dated it Thanksgiving 1995, and I put it in my wallet and I kept it there, and it deteriorated and stuff, but then just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million on, I think it was Dumb and Dumber.
It's all a risk, but yeah, no, going on stage would be wonderful. I used to, you know, I did 15 years in the comedy clubs before I really started acting.
Well, one-on-one, stand-up,
which is a PhD of some kind.
Well, it's a PhD of being able to relate to an audience, for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and that's
handling drunks. This is the thing. It's like, God, you better own it, you know? Whatever it is, you better own it.
I know.
Have this need for stuff. I'm always like afraid almost that, you know, I like say prayers, you know, make sure, you know, that I still have something to do here because well, you know, I really believe in the idea that if you don't have something to do here, you go.
Well, what's interesting, you said something about your parents that just fascinated me. At a certain point, they were just waiting for the end.
Yeah, and absolutely lovely people.
Right.
But kind of lost heart, you know. My father lost his job, and that hurt him a lot.
Attrition of life had taken its toll.
Yes, absolutely. And I think at a certain point they weren't enjoying it anymore. They weren't. They were just kind of waiting around. And I saw that early on, and I said, no, I can't have that. I have to break that cycle.
Yeah.
You know. 'Cause I'm fascinated with that myself, and I'm wary of it myself. About my motivations, about my allegiances, about what I'm expressing in the world, you know, just my day-to-day, you know, contact with people. The idea that, you know, if people come up to me and say, I love you, you know, I try extra hard to give them energy, you know, to make it something that isn't about me. It's about them and this moment, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm constantly, you know, trying to figure out where I'm at and whether I'm corrupting myself or not, or I'm probably just, you know, really too much about this, but it weighs heavy on me a lot. I believe in manifestation. I believe in, you know, putting a rocket of desire out into the universe, and you get it when you believe it. You get it when you believe you have it, and that's the key. Is like people still, they sit around going, when's it going to come? 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 And that's the wrong way. You're facing the wrong way. You're facing away from it. You have to go, it's here, it's here, it's here. I used to open my arms. I used to sit up there, you know, and open my arms and imagine a giant funnel of gifts coming
would come right into
from the
you.
universe.
Yes.
Honest to God, you could, you know, cut to me there. I'm like, like this, and if nothing else, it made me feel more positive about where I was. I drove down from Mulholland Drive every night, you know, that I went up there, feeling that I was one of the biggest actors in Hollywood. I was doing wonderful work that made people happy. I was, you know, I owned all that. That was it. You know, I guess, you know, what I own, when you think about it, is my faith. That's what I own. That's about it. Because I started thinking materially and all those things.
Your faith in
my
yourself.
life.
Or your
Absolutely.
faith in some...
Faith in the universe, faith in myself, yeah.
That is in the end what you own.
That's
the
it.
Sense of...
That's all I have.
That's exactly right. You can strip all the stuff away, and
right.
And if you have that sense of...
That's huge.
It's as big as it gets. That's what they...
huge.
You know, for the most part...
I've seen mountains move in my life, so I've had just endless gifts, and they've all been things that I have at some point sat and made myself believe were possible.
And you did with the check 4 years earlier, you did what with it?
Right. I wrote myself a check when I was up on Mulholland Drive.
Right.
I wrote myself a post-dated check, Thanksgiving 1995, for the sum of $10 million. And again, it wasn't about the money, it was about where you are if you're receiving that kind of money and what you're doing. Because I've examined that all the way along, you know, when all this $20 million man business was happening. You know, I've examined what my motivations are, and the fact is I'm addicted to expressing myself in certain ways, and I have to do it, and I would do it if I was making 20 cents. Yeah. So it's really about that, especially now. I have enough money to live 20 lives, so I can't stop. I'm fascinated by what creates characters, you know, what defines people, what creates them, what puts them together. Everybody's Frankenstein, and they just like, as life goes on, you either lose pieces of yourself, gain other pieces, and it just, that's the fascinating thing about acting. It's like somebody like Andy Kaufman, what is it? And I stood by his gravesite, you know, with his sister, and she said one thing to me that cleared it all up, and that was that Andy was never part of the club, so he created his own club that no one else could be a part of. Because I was fully, you know, prepared to just play out, you know, stand-up comedy in comedy clubs. And
yeah, but there's something within you that constantly pushed the edges of the envelope wherever you were.
Well, or at least took advantage of the opportunities that came around. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, just the courage to jump in. I mean, you know, to do films that are out of your so-called power alley, as they call it, it takes nerve, you know, so I have the nerve, you know, and we'll see if I have the goods, but I have the nerve. I'm just excited, really, about always changing, about crossing back and forth across the river and throwing the hounds off the trail.
I love that. Just when we think we've got you, we know you, you're off on another route.
Absolutely. And if I feel like I've been figured out, boy, look out. I will become something completely different, you know. Maybe I might not want to become something completely different, but express something completely different. I always felt like if the world is going crazy, I'll be calm. And if they're calm, I'll be the one hanging off the chandelier.